Welcome into another one-on-one interview with Average Joe Sports Talk. Caleb Brooks now joined by head football coach at Benjamin Russell High School, Coach Smitty Grider. And Coach, a lot of people that maybe didn't see the news that you were coming back or maybe looking, I thought he retired last year. But, short-lived retirement for you. You retired from Dothan High School. Obviously, this job came open in the summer. You were looking to get back into coaching. Things just kind of worked out perfect for you to end up here. And now that you got back in, you got a season under your belt, do you feel like you made the right choice of getting back into coaching and continuing to do this here?
Absolutely, Caleb. I was just really tired, and I thought it was time to step away, but it only took me a month or two to realize that it's all I've ever done, really, my whole life. And I just missed it. I missed the kids. I missed the other coaches, and this was just a God thing for this to happen here. The opening came late. I was actually headed to Georgia to help Tom Causey over at Ola High School. He had gone over there, and I was going to do his defense for him when this job came open. And man, it couldn't have been any better. It's been a great first year, and it's been just a revival for not only for me but for my family, and just have really felt at home here.
You look back at the season and, you look at Benjamin Russell, obviously a great year here. Dothan as well had a great year this past year. And, were you proud, obviously you were worried about what your team, but, you coached those guys and knew those guys. Were you pretty proud of what they were able to accomplish, especially in maybe the toughest region in the state?
Sure. There's some great kids down there, and, I was happy to see them have that success. Absolutely.
Being here, getting Benjamin Russell now kind of back on the map. It'd been a couple of years. Coach Horn left, and his last year they didn't make it. Obviously, a couple of coaches in between that weren't able to get to the postseason. Making the postseason now in year number one, going 8-2 in the regular season, beating some of the teams you guys were able to beat. How big was that for what you're trying to build this program back into?
It was really big. I think we're ahead of schedule where we should be, especially how late it was when we came in. I got hired on June 2nd, and I think there were still 5 coaches left on staff, so we had to hire a bunch of coaches, get coordinators in, and get the kids bought in to what we're doing, and to do all that in the short period that we had, and to go and win 8 games, and really had opportunities to win all 10, and to do that puts us ahead of schedule. And to get these kids a taste of the playoffs was big. There wasn't a player on the team that had ever been to a playoff game as a player. So for them to just at least experience that, the atmosphere, and how the intensity of the playoffs ratchet up, and what it takes to win those kind of games was big for us to get that done in the first year.
You brought some really good coaches on staff, even getting hired late in the process. And how important was that part of it? It'd have been, if it was any other year, you may have just not had those coaches available. And, like you talked about, just God bringing you here. Maybe it was God that brought those guys here
100%,
as well.
100%. Having good friends in the business helped with that. Mark Freeman called me and introduced me to Greg Krager, who's our offensive coordinator, and we hit it off right from the start. And then Keith Etheridge is the one that called me about Jason Simmons. So having 2 guys like that as good friends to lean on, to find coaches, and then them be available at that time. I mean, what else could it be but God putting his hand on not only me and what's going on in my life, but this football program and everything that he brought together to make this a successful year and get this program headed back where it should be.
When you found out that this job was open, how much did the history of this place and the success of this place have really kind of help attract you to this place?
Well, I've always thought that Benjamin Russell was one of the best jobs in the state. I've applied a couple of other times and was a finalist one time and didn't get the job. And I go back to 1995 when I went to Opelika with Coach McCracken, and we came over here and played that first year. And just the atmosphere here and in this stadium, I've coached in it a bunch of times before I got the job, and I've known about the programs here, not only football but wrestling, baseball, everything that goes on here. I've competed against it actually since I was in about the 8th grade, coming up here for the Lake Martin Invitational Wrestling Tournament. And so it's always been an attractive job to me. And to have the opportunity to come here and follow the guys that you follow. I mean, 4 Hall of Fame football coaches, that have been here, and to get the opportunity to follow what those guys did and try to bring this program back to prominence was just it's been a blessing for me.
No, one of the big things that you wanted to do in coming in was kind of getting a physicality back to this group. Did you feel like that y'all accomplished that as the season went on?
We did in some ways. There's some things we still got to get better at. I thought defensively, I thought we played really physical and played hard. We weren't always playing with the right technique or in the right place, but we made up for it because we were playing so hard. And we had some kids that would really hit. And that was good to see. I think we've got to still work on our physicality and our offensive line. We got better, was probably the most improved group on our team. But down the stretch, we really still couldn't run the football as effectively as we need to in tough situations. So that's something we got to work on. But if we make the same level of improvement next year as we did this year, then we're going to get there in a hurry. We want to have a physical mentality in everything we do here. Whether it be on the defensive side or up front blocking on offense, the way our backs run the ball, how we finish runs, we want to be physical in everything we do, and we're headed there. We're going to get there. That's a reputation that Alex City's always had, and we want to get back to that.
We talked with Malcolm Simmons. He's obviously a guy that's starting to get a lot of attention from colleges. Having him move back to Benjamin Russell, it was a good offense the year before, but how did he help this offense, just adding another athlete to what you already had?
Well, Malcolm's a tremendous athlete. He plays everything. He led the state in punting. I don't know if you knew that. He averaged over 44 yards a punt for the season. He played DB, played wide receiver. We had to play him at running back. He turned you're not old enough to remember a guy named Gordy Lockbaum from back in the 70s that was a college player that did the same thing, played every position. But because of our situation, we had to play Malcolm in a lot of spots. And him coming back was very big in our success. He is such a threat anytime he touches the ball to take it to the house, from 80 yards out. And that was big for us. And he played a lot of defense, especially early as we were kind of figuring out what we had. And, having him was obviously a big part of our success.
You got added other guys like we talked with Chris. You had Corey Milner, you had Nick McKinney, those type of guys. How much did it help having so many that a team really couldn't focus just on one of them and take one of them away because you're leaving another really good player wide open?
It's probably the best skill group I've had as a head coach, and I had some really good ones. Down in Park Crossing, we had some really good players, but we never had this many receiver, running back type kids that could make plays like we had here. It allowed us to be very flexible with what we wanted to do. It forced defenses to play you straight up. They couldn't double anybody because the other guys could make such plays. And having Gabe back there at quarterback, that was big too. Having a guy that's so even-keeled, I don't know if you could tell in your interview with him, but he doesn't get too excited, but he doesn't get low either. He's the same guy. If he throws 4 touchdowns or 4 interceptions, he's the same guy. And having him as the quarterback around all those, those skilled players that want the ball every play, but having a guy like Gabe that stays calm and can get the ball to the right guy, forced defenses to play us straight up. And it was, we had over 4,000 yards of offense this year. It was a lot of fun watching those guys play.
On top of that, Gabe takes care of the football as well. He doesn't throw a ton of interception. He doesn't take many risks. How much does that help having a quarterback who understands the value in the football?
That's huge. I think he had 6 picks and 28 or 29 touchdowns, something like that. So that ratio is big. Sometimes I wish he'd take a few more chances, Sometimes he holds it a little longer than I want him to, but at the end of the day, he doesn't turn it over. And, we tell him all the time, we want to end every drive with a kick. And if we do that, it's a good night offensively, whether that be a punt or an extra point field goal. So that was a big part of our success is us not having a bunch of turnovers this year.
You talk about not having any postseason success and how important the Hueytown game was. Is that probably what kind of showed itself more than anything in the second half of that game? Was they had been there, they had played for a state championship the year before, and that situation was new to a lot of guys on your team.
Well, I'm sure that was part of it when it started getting away from us. But we had a couple of guys go down with injuries on defense that really forced us to change what we were doing because our depth, we just didn't have enough depth. And we had to go from a 3-man front to a 4-man front that we didn't work a lot that week because we didn't plan on using it. And so we were just kind of discombobulated. And then offensively, we had 3 or 4 drives in a row where we weren't productive. And they did. And that's when the game, with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, we had the lead. And with 3 minutes to go, it's tied. And then we ended up, I think we got beat 3 touchdowns or whatever. And it was just kind of a snowball of, those injuries kind of hurt what we were doing defensively. We probably started pressing a little bit like you're talking about offensively. And the game kind of got away from us.
I remember when I was here, Coach Horn's first 2 years, he goes 1-9, 1-9. My sophomore year, we finally get to 6-6. We make the playoffs, and I remember all we could think about was getting in the weight room and getting ready for the next year. Are you kind of seeing that now with this group after tasting that, seeing the success, them just ready to kind of get to work and start working towards next year?
We've had a great start. We didn't get an off season. We came in June, and we worked. We had to hit the ground running, putting in offense, defense, and all that. So we really didn't get an opportunity for this phase that we're going through right now. And I'm excited. The kids are working hard. I'm really pleased with where we are. We were way behind in the weight room where we need to be. And I'm excited about their attitudes in there. We've had just great attitudes. They're working hard. And I'm sure that's got a lot to do with it. That now they know, hey, we've been there. First round's not good enough. That's not what we want to be here. 8-2, 7-3, get beat in the first round. That's not the game plan. We want to be a playoff contender, not playoff contender, state championship contender, year in and year out. And making the playoffs needs to be a given around here. Is how deep are we going to go? And so I think that little taste has really invigorated the kids. It's been a good start to the off season.
Getting in and being as late as you were getting in, how involved were you able to be with some of the younger kids, the middle school area and stuff like that? Or is this time now allowing you to kind of get over there and meet some more of those kids and be around them more?
I hadn't made it to the middle school yet, but I went to every game at home. And but I'm going to get over there soon. What I have been able to do is get with the freshmen. I didn't really get to know them until we got to the off season, and I'm in the weight room with them every day now, and that's made a huge difference in that group. We had 6 of them that played with us on the varsity, and we've got 25 that are not that weren't with the varsity that I'm working with now in a separate weight class, and getting to know those kids and kind of indoctrinate them in what we're doing. They didn't really get that, and so this is a great time of year. And when middle school basketball ends, I'm going to get to the middle school and start really focusing on those kids.
You talked about getting to watch some of the home games. You guys didn't lose a game at home this year on the varsity level, and how important is that for you and what you're trying to build here is defending the home field and making sure that you don't have any losses over there?
Well, that's one of our goals every year, to win all our home games. And you want an environment that's hard for people to come play in and gives you an advantage, and we have that here. And we need to take advantage of it. And so, that was one thing that we talked about all season is we want to be undefeated at home. And, we were able to do that. And, most people do play better at home, and we definitely do. But, that's one thing, one of the goals we did reach, and so I'm excited about that. I'm glad, it's fun that the kids love playing in front of their home crowd. And one of the things we talked about all the time with them, especially playing at home, is one of the challenges or the job that I have coming here is to bring pride back to this city about the football program. And we took pride in being able to do that. And that was one of the things that we talked a lot with the kids about, putting a product out there that this town can be proud of and doing that at home in front of them, and being able to succeed in that this year was a great step towards what we're trying to build.
When you look at the spring, obviously there's you have a choice now as a head coach, and so how do you kind of go about choosing if you want to have a spring, if you don't want to have a spring? Is it something that you have to wait and see how other sports are doing, or how do you monitor something like that?
I want to have a spring. We started the week early this year because there was no spring last year, I didn't like that. It's a longer season by week. Obviously, it cuts into your summer and what you can do as far as time off for the kids in the summer. One thing that happens, especially with me coming in new, I didn't know who could play. You find out some things in spring that you can't find out running around in shorts in the summer. We need to know out of these young kids who will hit, who will be physical. A lot of guys will look good in the weight room and can run, but you put pads on and they don't really want any of that. And you can't find that out until you get pads on. And if you wait, don't have spring, and then wait till the fall camp, then you're behind with what you can do with those kids. So we're going to have a spring this year. I haven't scheduled a game yet. I plan to. I'm working on it. So I think it's important because you're a lot more willing to take chances as far as being physical in practice and going good on good the whole time and just finding out who you are as a football team.
I talked with Gabe and Malcolm about them being multi-sport guys, basically playing year round. You have a lot of guys on your group that do that play multi-sports. How important do you feel like that is that they are competing year round?
I love it. This one thing I love about Benjamin Russell is we I don't know how many. I bet you there's 15 kids that play 3 sports on our football team. There's a bunch more than that play 2. It's kind of a throwback when I was growing up, man. You played football, and you went and played basketball or wrestled, then you went to baseball. And that's just how it went. And I feel like the more they can compete and have that pressure of competition on them, the better they're going to be at whatever sport they're playing. So I love the way we do it here. One thing about it too, it makes us as a coaching staff across all sports a lot closer. We have to work together, and everybody here is really good at working together on sharing athletes. It's not the case everywhere. And it's really refreshing to come somewhere that the coaches really work together and try to help the kids and let them play everything they can play. A very small percentage of these kids will ever play after high school. And so I've always felt like it's important to get the most you can out of your high school experience, man. Play everything. Because, at the end of the day, when you graduate, all that's over. You're not going to get to go back in that locker room, and that's a special thing. And I love how we do it here. And it's one of the things that I'm excited about moving forward is having so many people that just play ball all the time.
Well, Coach, really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us here. Always good to sit down and chat with you, and really excited about what you're doing here at Benjamin Russell and looking forward to continuing to see this football.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you guys do too. Giving everybody a chance to promote their program is awesome.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.